Let me know if we hear from Mark. So he did not, I talked to him in the middle. He was prepping for his own show yesterday, so I hope he remembers. Okay, sounds good. Thank you. I'm going to do a couple real quick things before I bring him on. Just a couple follow-ups here.
Pop in for some open basketball in our field house or reserve some turf time for your next practice or game on our synthetic fields. Online registration is open for development classes and leagues for youth and adults. Highland Sports is also the hottest destination for birthday parties and other events. So come challenge yourself on our play climb and enjoy your favorite virtual reality game in the arcade. No memberships required, so visit highlandsports.com to find your next entertainment experience and get ready to reach new heights.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your Tuesday. Mostly cloudy, the chance for a scattered shower or maybe even a snowflake or two in the forecast. High near 41. Overnight low, 27 degrees under partly cloudy skies. A mix of clouds and sunshine for your Wednesday with highs in the lower 40s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of this station or its sponsors.
Good morning, old friends.
Oh my God, what time is it?
What time is it?
The time has come to hit unfriend.
Oh my God, is it time? Is it time?
You're getting dangerously close to being unfriended.
Really?
Why?
Today is National Unfriend Day on Facebook.
Easy, friend. We're not friends.
Did you just unfriend me?
Unfriend.
We were Facebook friends before there was a Facebook.
And unfriend.
It's showtime.
News, information, conversation, controversy, and fun. This is the Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe.
I got to admit, I think about unfriending so many people on Facebook. I'm reaching my limit on Facebook, and then I just say, you know what? Just take a deep breath and let people say what they want to say, and don't get so bent out of shape about it. Every once in a while, I get sucked into it, and I think, I'm not going to let these people on my page anymore. And then I think, how stupid is that, you know? Sticks and stones and all that kind of good stuff. What's coming up today on the Watchdog Morning Show? Our Countdown to Christmas shopping series, it was just wrapped up with lifestyle blogger Mario Armstrong offering some gift tips. If you didn't catch that, he had some really great gift ideas for you for online shopping, including a good way to get personalized gifts online. I love to give personalized gifts, and it's hard to do that online, and all my shopping is sadly being done online these days. We'll have the Mario Armstrong interview up on our podcast page a little bit later on. Republican senators declined to talk on TV about Trump's rigged election conspiracy. Although some do privately call it bonkers, the president is expected to pull more troops out of Afghanistan as the presidential transition remains in limbo. Our D.C. reporter Tom Squitieri was with us. Plus, we're going to take a deeper look at the latest proposed coronavirus vaccine, talking about the governor's crackdown in West Virginia on mask mandates and other COVID issues. And next, our media's chief political correspondent, Mark Curtis, with us in just literally a minute to discuss that. If you have something on your mind, you can text me, 304-214-1600. 304-214-1600 is the Watchdog Radio Network text line. Let's see, off the text line. Oh, let's see, I should tell you it's 37 degrees. Temperatures dropped a degree. Yikes. 37 at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. Feels like temperature of 27 degrees. Holy cow. And Janie says, good morning, Howard. It's hailing in Moundsville. Alrighty then.
Okay.
All right. We were talking about the Super 6 earlier. Bernie Dolan has suggested that it's possible the Super 6 may not, actually it's possible, he says it may not be played at all. We already had a number of teams that were supposed to be in the first round of playoffs that couldn't play, including John Marshall, Wheeling Park, Wheeling Central last weekend. So they already forfeited. Now the teams that are moving forward, either on a forfeit or on a win. What happens with the color-coded map next week? Have to wait and see with that. So Bernie says that it's possible there could not be a Super 6 at all. And if there is, might want to move it out of Wheeling since the Wheeling Island Stadium, since the COVID numbers here are so very, very high. Off the text line, Howard, if they can't allow Ohio County schools to play, why would you host the Super 6 in an area that is red or orange? The county has a high infection rate. Why would you bring people from the green areas into a red area? Can you say super spreader event? I don't know what they're going to do, but as Biff said earlier, and I would agree with you, Brother Biff, whatever you're going to do, make a decision now. Let's not drag this out. That's happened too much in this whole COVID thing. Too many decisions get dragged out. Well, maybe we'll take another week off of school. Maybe we'll going to make a decision. Go ahead and make it. Let's see, Howard, off the text line. It's not about teams. It's not about teams bringing COVID in. It's about the teams catching COVID when they get here. So, text me if you'd like to. 304-214-1600. Lots of folks on the text line. Let's talk about the governor's effort to crack down on things in West Virginia with our friend Mark Curtis, who is the chief political correspondent for Nexstar Media, the parent company of WTRF TV. And Mark's with us this morning. Good morning, sir.
Howard, good morning.
So, I have a lot of criticism from time to time. I can do that because I'm a talk show host, not just a news guy, of the governor. But honestly, anymore, I'm feeling sorry for him. I feel like he's trying to do something, and he's just having a hard time getting people to pay attention. It certainly seemed that way from what I read about yesterday's press conference, for example.
Yeah, it was. I don't know how many times he said wear the mask yesterday. I mean, he just repeated it and repeated it and repeated it. I think in my soundbite I used from he said wear the mask 3 times. It's look. There's and you don't have to walk far to see people without them on, or people are still complaining about going into businesses or restaurants and not seeing people wear them. Well, obviously you got to take it off to eat your dinner. So, I think the governor's frustrated. He's frustrated. The numbers are spiking. And basically, he says the next step is to start shutting things down again, and we're seeing that in other states, and I think a lot of people don't want to see that happen here.
So last week, he really said he's going to start cracking down, insisting that businesses put signs up saying you must wear a mask, even to the point where he said that if people aren't wearing masks or if a business isn't enforcing it, you should feel comfortable to call the police. I'm not 100% sure that's a good idea, but that's what the governor's saying.
Well, here's what the protocol is supposed to be, because we had Mayor Amy Goodwin on the air here yesterday talking about she doesn't want every
a very fine Wheeling native, by the way. A very
yes,
fine
and former news anchor and reporter at WTRF, and certainly well known in your area, but now our mayor. And she was on the radio here yesterday talking about how concerned she is that every Tom, Dick, and Harry's just going to pick up the phone and call 911 when they see somebody walking down the street or walking into the mall without a mask. What they want to do, what the governor says the protocol should be, is And he's putting it on the business owner, and I can tell you business owners don't necessarily like this either. So if you're in somebody's business and you're not wearing a mask, it is incumbent on the business owner to walk over to you and say, please put on a mask. And if that person refuses, then you ask them to leave politely, and if they refuse to leave, then that business owner is to call police, and the person can be charged with trespassing or obstruction of justice. So that's supposed to be the protocol. It's going to be interesting to see how many 911 calls they start getting and how much of this becomes a nuisance. And you got to think about the public safety problem, because 911 is supposed to be for immediate emergencies. I'm having a heart attack now. I think I'm going to have a heart attack in 3 weeks. It's now. And you don't want to clog up those lines with a lot of frivolous mass calls.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Ohio Governor Mike DeWine was in Wheeling yesterday, and he said that he wants a stricter enforcement of the mask mandate, but he also said if somebody refuses, just don't get in a dust up with them. Just let it go on. I think as opposed to trying to, call the police. So two differing governors from two neighboring states have a slightly different approach to this. I've said all along I think there ought to be some kind of enforcement of these various mandates, but I also am not sure. You point out several real serious problems with perhaps calling the police. You could end up with confrontations, I think.
Oh, sure.
I just don't know that it's the wisest move. I'm not disagreeing with the governor, not countermanding him or anything. I just think it through very carefully.
Well, you think about it, they're kind of putting it on the shoulder of business owners, and a lot of business owners are saying, look, I'm not a law enforcement officer. I don't want to have to do this. But it's not just the owners of the business. If you're a clerk in a Go-Mart and somebody walks in without a mask and gets in your face when you ask them politely to put the mask on and all of a sudden punches you or something, the rank and file workers in a lot of small businesses don't want to have to be enforcing this either. They feel they're in danger.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It would be interesting, though, Mark. There are at least two restaurants here or food establishments here in the northern Panhandle that I am aware of that actually have a sign on the door that says the complete opposite. That says, we do not enforce a mask mandate here. If that bothers you, don't come in. In direct contradiction to what the governor is recommending. I'm going to be curious what happens with restaurants like that or other businesses that actually actively want to refuse to follow the guidelines?
Well, that's an interesting question because, as you know, restaurants are inspected and policed by the county health departments in West Virginia. So if somebody is blatantly saying we aren't going to enforce the mask ordinance, they could get shut down by your local health department for not being in compliance, I would think.
Yeah, I would say, too. And it's the one, people always ask me, why doesn't the health department do more to crack down? Their enforcement power is relatively limited. It's limited to the extent of closing down a food establishment or other places that are under their purview that don't follow guidelines. They can't just go willy-nilly into Walmart or someplace like that and say, we're going to enforce the mask mandate. But it will be curious to see how this whole thing plays out. But as I said, I kind of felt sorry for the governor. Last Wednesday, I guess it was, he almost looked forlorn as I watched the press conference when he said, I don't know what else to do.
Yeah.
And it's.
Well, there was a couple times, there were a couple times yesterday he got very emotional. He talked about the weight entire state is on my shoulders was a quote, or if I can paraphrase. And then he talked about being confronted by a female high school volleyball player from Putnam County who, because Putnam was in the orange, the kids were disqualified from the playoffs. And he said the girl had these big old tears rolling down her cheeks as she was pleading with me to say, please let us play volleyball. And, that's on a human level, that's got to just be heartbreaking because, after all, Jim Justice is a high school basketball coach. And in fact, Greenbrier East High School, where he coaches, was closed down the other day. They had an outbreak there, so wonder how it's going to affect his own team. But he takes that very personally. He's been a coach for a long, long time, and he really loves kids.
Yeah, and he often talks about he wants goodness for the people of West Virginia, and I love you, West Virginia, and I do believe that. I think he really wants to do what's right for the people. It's a hard thing to know these days, and it's a hard thing to enforce. I love the one comment I saw yesterday, and this is I'm quoting from Metro News' story on this one, Brad's story. I need you to quit believing in any way that somebody's going to come and take your guns or it's unconstitutional or whatever it may be. Who cares about all that right at the moment? right at this moment, all we need to do is some way break the chain of this killer that's eating us alive. Which is a good point. This has become so political. This whole mask mandate, wearing a mask, has become a political statement as opposed to a public health statement.
Yeah, and it's coming from people in his own party. He refused to mention the two delegates by name yesterday. Who one of them put Jim Justice's cell phone number out on social media and urged people to call him, and that was Delegate Mike Folk, former Delegate Mike Folk, a Republican from Berkeley County, who ran for governor this year and finished third in the primary. And the other one, he's taking issue with his current delegate, although he's not termed out. He didn't. He ran for governor as an independent, and the write-in candidate is Marshall Wilson from over in that part of the state as well. And he basically is blaming them for leading these charges and starting rumors about people. Your guns are going to be taken away, and the mask mandate is unconstitutional. All kinds. And look, if those guys truly feel it's unconstitutional, take it to court. Have the state Supreme Court rule on it or not. I think it falls within. I'm not a lawyer, but I think this falls under the jurisdiction of the governor's emergency powers authority to declare a state of emergency, which he has.
Now, that's an issue that I think the legislature is probably going to take up in the fall, or in the spring, which is how much further can the governor's executive authority go, and how much longer can it go? That's an issue to be resolved, and I suspect the legislature may want to tackle that when they get together. But at the moment, it seems as if he has the authority, and he still is operating under the executive actions that executive authority he was given back in he took back in April of this year. So
and I agree with you. I think the legislature will try to tackle this, and not to confront the governor, but there are some gray areas here, not the least of which is the distribution of the CARES Act money that's been sent by Congress. Does the governor have the sole authority to spend that money? He says he does, and he says he has the legal opinion to back it up, but it hasn't really been challenged in court. The legislature, there was a large group, bipartisan group, 60-plus Democrats and Republicans, that wrote him a letter saying, call a special session, bring us back in, and let us vote on how to distribute this money. It's federal money given to the state. We have budgetary authority. We should be able to weigh in. I think that's going to eventually be a court fight, and maybe we'll get some clarity.
Yeah, I would not be surprised. Both courts, and again, I think the legislature will probably try to put some kind of, I'm guessing this from talking to a few local folks, but I think they're probably going to try to put some kind of limits on this executive power, not just for Governor Justice today, but for future governors as well. Mark, and we're talking to Mark Curtis from Nexstar Media this morning here on the Watchdog Morning Show. Mark, the governor actually did more than just crack down on masks. He had a couple of other items on his Get Tough list, including a delay of winter sports. Is part of his plan.
Yes, the fall sports are going to be allowed to go to completion, provided the counties are not in the orange and red. And you were talking earlier about Bernie Dolan and the high school football tournament, because a lot of teams got disqualified from that because they were in orange or red counties. We'll see what happens. By the way, if they don't want to play it on Wheeling Island, bring the Super Six to Charleston. We have Laidley Field here. It's big. The county's not. I think we're in the gold or yellow. So they could do it here in a very big open space field where the University of Charleston plays. But I guess I don't have the authority to make that invitation, but I'm just putting it out there. But then, winter sports, basketball, cheerleading, swimming, and wrestling will not start until at least January 11th, although that could be pushed back too. So I think there's a great deal of concern about the school system. The governor was asked yesterday by the West Virginia Education Association to just shut down K through 12 altogether until January and have everybody go on remote learning, which is what WVU is doing. And so we asked the governor, in fact, I specifically asked him yesterday. He said that's an option. It's being considered. It's on the table. But as of now, they're concerned about what would happen to child care. What are two working parents going to do if all of a sudden the semester's over and their kids have to come home and be at home? And there's a lot of problems that can be caused by this. So there's no simple answer.
Personally, I go back and forth on this. I see a lot of value in what the WVEA recommends, and that is primarily for consistency's sake. Let parents know now how long they're going to have to deal with this, as opposed to waiting till 5 o'clock on a Saturday night and see what they're going to do next week. I think that's really important. Going on right now, literally in the other room as you and I are talking, my wife is with my 5-year-old grandson. he's on remote kindergarten this week, so she's watching his remote, and they're doing that. But my kids are lucky because grandma and granddad are down the street, and we have plenty of time to watch the kid. A lot of parents don't have that opportunity, and they have to start scrambling at, I want to say 5 o'clock, but actually the last couple of weeks has been well after 5 o'clock before that map came out, and figure out what are we going to do next week. So I get the WVEA's point, if for no other reason there is some consistency. On the other hand, there are a lot of kids that need to be in school, not for education purposes per se, although of course they do, but for human purposes, for contact outside their family. Not everyone comes from the kind of household that my grandson's able to come from. And so I worry about those kids who have no contact with anything other than their family for a long period of time.
Yeah.
Difficult decision. But the governor basically said no, right? I mean, to the WVEA proposal yesterday.
Yeah, and he threw a little politics into it, and I think maybe that was unfortunate. He mentioned the WVEA has supported his opponent and things like that, and if he were a member of this union, he'd search for other leadership.
Yeah.
I don't know that it had to get so personal and political. They were simply making a request on there, and I know Dale Lee's a very reasonable guy. He's also a coach, also a classroom teacher, and he's the head of that union, and I've always found him to be a very reasonable guy. Whether you liked the teacher strike or not, that's beside the point, but he's a very accessible, reasonable man, and I think he was basically saying, look, if WVU is doing this at the university level, why don't we take their guidance and do this K through 12 out of an abundance of caution, because we're seeing such a huge spike in the numbers.
And I would guess, and I'm sort of guessing here, although I've talked to some teachers, teachers themselves have a hard time sort of bouncing back and forth between the remote learning and in-seat learning. Having a consistent time period saying, I know at least to the end of the year we're going to be on remote, would give them a chance to focus on the remote classroom as opposed to sort of some days in person, some days not. Just a lot, again, but I don't want to be governor, period. Let me begin with that. But I sure don't want to be the governor in this circumstance.
Yeah, and let me just say, from personal experience, the most recent college degree I earned was done, 95% of it I did online. And it's a different way of learning. And, of course, I did it as an adult. But it's a different way of learning. There's less interaction. It's harder to ask questions and to problem solve. It's not without its challenges. And let's not forget the biggest challenge is that's broadband connectivity in this state, where we may have upwards of 40% of the kids in the state can't even get online to do their lessons. So it's a different type of learning. I think it is the learning of the future. I think it's with us forever, but it has nuances that still need to be tweaked and looked at and fixed. And I think, you mentioned about the isolation of kids, and I think that's something that contributes to it as well.
You're a reporter, so you shouldn't be guessing, but come on, give me your guess. Do you think that we're heading towards a shutdown?
I think we may see a partial shutdown. I can conceive of the governor saying, instead of no more winter sports until January 11th, saying no more winter sports, period, just canceling the season. I can see, certain events, maybe restaurants and bars being shut down in counties that are orange and red. I know I don't want that. I mean, what it's doing to small business owners is just devastating. And I think a lot of them will probably shutter their doors for good. But I kind of think, when you saw Mike DeWine here yesterday, he was in Huntington as well. They're concerned about the cross-border spread. There's a lot of people from Ohio and Kentucky that come into West Virginia and work or shop. And what happens, we posed this to the governor the other day. What if Governor DeWine and Governor Beshear shut down restaurants and bars and retail establishments in Ohio and Kentucky? Where are those folks going to go? They're going to come across the border into Wheeling, Parkersburg, Huntington, and with them they're going to bring whatever spike in coronavirus those states have, and it's going to cause it even more problems. So I asked the governor if he's talking with the other governors about maybe coordinating some of this so that we don't have this cross-border pollination problem. And he said they are talking to each other.
DeWine said yesterday that he does not want to have another shutdown, but he would like to see a slowdown. And in fact, he said he'll make some announcements, I think, today on some other plans he has in mind. But what's going to be really frustrating is folks are going to get really angry if we end up with another shutdown, eat bars, restaurants, or a more universal shutdown. And the frustrating thing is, it's people that if we had just followed the rules, just done what we should have done all along, we probably wouldn't have to have it happen.
Yeah, there's going to be some discussion about whether we open too quickly. I think there's always going to be Monday morning quarterbacking on this. I think the governor's point the other day, I think he was the one that made this, is that for many small businesses, their profit margin is the winter holiday season, November and January. They break even the rest of the year, and if they're going to make a profit, these are the months. And if they get shut down, I mean, the devastation to the economy is going to be terrible. It's going to be interesting to see if Congress comes back into session with the lame duck President Trump and pass another CARES Act or a stimulus bill, or are they going to wait to January? I can't imagine, especially for small businesses, if they wait to try and help them with January. A lot of those businesses are going to have closed signs on the doors, and the help's going to be too little, too late.
Yeah, you make a great point. I mean, this is the make it or break it. There's a reason they call things Black Friday. Black Friday is normally when businesses that have been in the red all year long have a chance to get into the black on a traditional holiday season. And I have to be honest, personally, I love to shop. I love to shop local. I'm a firm believer in shopping local. But I'm doing most of my holiday shopping so far online because I'm being a COVID hermit. And I think a lot of people are like that.
And some small businesses have adapted. I know there's some small retail shops here in Charleston where I can walk in or I can go onto their website and order, and that's great. But I don't know how many small businesses have that capability. They certainly don't have the power of an Amazon or a Walmart or the big ticket places.
Absolutely. Mark, appreciate your time this morning. You know what you're doing for the weekend show yet?
Well, I tell you what, let me plug this tomorrow night because people will be able to see it on WTRF 7. Normally every year we do the Mediathon for West Virginia University Children's Hospital, and of course they're building that fabulous new hospital up in Morgantown, right next to Ruby. That'll be a strictly children's hospital. They won't be mixing and mingling the patients, and they've got to raise millions of dollars to do that. We were just up there a few months ago for the topping off ceremony where they put the final beam up, but this is going to be a state-of-the-art medical facility, one of the best in the nation for treating our kids. And so tomorrow night on West Virginia Tonight at 5:30, we'll be doing some stories about it in a fundraiser. We can't do the whole mediathon like we did last year because you can't put 30 television people into a hospital and bring in the possibility of somebody bringing COVID in where there's a bunch of sick kids. You just can't do that. So we're doing it more socially distanced, and I'll just be here at the studio in Charleston, but we'll have stories and ways people can help, and we'll hear from Gordon Gee, and we'll hear from him on our Sunday show as well.
All right, sounds good. Mark, always appreciate your time this morning. Thank you, my friend. We'll look for you at 5:30 tonight.
All right, Howard, thanks so much.
All right, have a good day. Mark Curtis, the chief political correspondent for Nexstar Media, the parent company of WTRF TV. Always a good guest to have on the show. Good insight into what's happening down in Charleston, and so I'm glad he was able to join us here this morning. Speaking of WVU, off the text line, Howard, the WVU student example is a stupid-ass example. Okay. Okay.
Tell us how you really feel.
College students can be remote learning. College students can do remote learning. They do not need babysitters. Well, I don't disagree that there's a difference between, college remote learning and as Mark said, Mark Curtis said much of his last college degree was done online. I did an awful lot of my college work online. I know you're saying, what, did they have the internet back then, Howard, when you were in college? Yeah, well, it was early days. But adults, it's one thing. It is different. I'm not arguing that at all. It's very different with kids. But still, I think the key thing for me is the consistency there. If you want to text me, you can, 304-214-1600. Because I can give you an answer to this. Off the text line, hey, is WKKX going to do the annual turkey shoot this year? Yes, we are. Yes, we are. We're going to kill turkeys for you. right in the studio. I hope it's in the studio. Oh, they're not planning to bring the turkeys down here to my house, are they? Oh, we don't have room for the marksmen and the turkeys and everybody. Not here, not in the home studio. No, it's got to be up there in the main studio.
I think we're going to do it in the parking lot by the side door.
Socially distant. That's a good point, Biff.
Yeah.
We have to socially distance those marksmen. But anyway, to answer the question, and I appreciate you texting me that question because I can give you a positive answer. Yes, we will be doing the annual turkey shoot this year. I'm not quite sure when we're starting, whether it's sometime this week or all of next week, but I know that we'll be doing it, so be listening, and I will tell you more about that. We were talking about COVID so much, and there's an awful lot of the conversation we have that begins with when this is all over. When this is all over, we're going to have to revisit the governor's executive authorities. When this is all over, we're going to have to do a little post-mortem on whether we closed down too quickly or opened up too quickly, all those kinds of things. When this is over. When's it going to be over? Well, it's not going to be over soon. I don't want to give false hope. On the other hand, it seems as if we're getting closer and closer to a vaccine. And very close to a vaccine. We've got at least 2, maybe 3 viable ones that are out there now. Now, the distribution of those is going to be an issue. But we'll take a look at the latest vaccine that seems to be having a very big success rate, the Moderna company vaccine, coming up after we take care of some other business first. And let's do that right now at 9:36, 24 till the hour. Metro News has some Ohio Valley headlines for us.
The Metro News Update is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Back in a minute, Biffy. By the way, has anybody said to you when we're going to do the turkey shoot? It was mentioned at the meeting last week that we are going to do it, but I don't know any details. So, okay. Well, if you hear anything, let me know. All right, I'll be back in a minute. I'm back, Biff. I don't know if I said that or not, but I'm back. We'll do the Moderna vaccine story. Thanks.
Know it alone. If you're hurt in an accident, call us at 304-242-2900 or visit us at gelnerlaw.com.
We'd like to help.
Hello, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm the Storm Tracker, Darnell Foster, with a look at your local weather forecast for your Tuesday. Mostly cloudy, the chance for a scattered shower or maybe even a snowflake or two in the forecast. High near 41. Overnight low, 27 degrees under partly cloudy skies. A mix of clouds and sunshine for your Wednesday, with highs in the lower 40s. Have yourself a great day, everyone. From the Watchdog, I'm Darnell Foster.
The perfect cure for your quarantine blues. The Watchdog on Facebook Live. Watch The Watchdog weekdays on Facebook Live, beginning with the morning show with Howard Monroe at 7 a.m. Local talk radio, Watchdog style. Give us a call and tell us what you're thinking. Locally, 304-214-1600. Out of the area, toll free, 866-514-1600 or 304-232-8255.
Watch out! He could climb on his soapbox at any time. The Watchdog Morning Show with Howard Monroe continues.
The first thing I met was a fly with a buzz and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert on a horse with no name. It felt good.
Biff knows I love this song. I always get a little bit of this with bumper music all the time. It's one of my favorites. 37 degrees at the Wheeling, Ohio County Airport. It feels like 27, wind blowing around a little bit. 37 here at my home studios in Elm Grove, and 37 degrees at the Robinson Auto Group Studios, downtown Wheeling, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. If some parts of the valley seeing a little bit of wet stuff coming out of the sky, a little bit of sprinkles hither and yon. Janie down in Moundsville said it was hailing this morning, hailing. And you heard Zach earlier this morning from the Big Seven say we could be seeing some flurries or flakes today. So I don't know about flakes. Flurries are smaller than flakes, right? First it's a flurry, then it's a flake. I think that's the way I would look at it. Flurries, not flakes today. I was going to actually ask Police Chief Schwartzberger if he would come on the show tomorrow. I have not made an effort to do that, but it was in my head that tomorrow would be a good day to do this, to see what he thinks about enforcing this mask mandate. But I see Chief Schwartzberger has already put out a statement on the mask business. Let me read it to you from Wheeling Police Chief Sean Schwartzberger. The Wheeling Police Department has prepared what we believe is an appropriate protocol related to the governor's updated executive order. The indoor mask mandate comes down to business and other private property owners needing to take on the responsibility. Should someone attempt to enter their business or property, it then becomes their responsibility to ask the individual to comply. Should the individual not comply, that individual should be asked to leave. If the individual becomes disorderly or otherwise refuses to leave, that then becomes a police issue, and we will respond and take care of it using appropriate trespass and disorderly conduct laws. So Chief Schwartzberger is saying, and I thank Erica Storch for shipping this statement out. It came from her office at the Chamber of Commerce. Apparently, the chief is basically saying, look, the business owner has got the onus of this. It's your job to enforce the mask mandate. If you try to enforce it and somebody refuses, then you say, I'm sorry, I can't let you in. That's governor's order. You're not permitted to enter my business without a mask. If someone still insists on coming in, then that individual should be asked to leave. And if they become disorderly, then you call the police and they will take care of it. So that's the thought from Chief Schwarzenegger on this. Still may invite him to come on and talk some more about that tomorrow. I have to see. Again, that was my game plan, was to talk to him later today and see if he'd come on tomorrow. And I guess he probably knew what I was thinking, Biff. He probably knew what I was thinking. So he sent out his statement there. The governor has said that he wants police to be able to handle this. On the other hand, I think police don't really want to get in the middle of it. You know what I'm saying, Biffy?
Yeah, I mean, and again, I think when it gets to a certain point, yes, the police should be called, but let them handle it first, and if it gets to, hopefully it doesn't get to the point where someone's that just doesn't do it, but if it does, okay, then it's okay to call the police, but hopefully we won't have any problems, but I don't know.
Yeah, listen, hope springs eternal. I'm with you, pal, but
I'm gonna go with one of Coach Neil Brown's favorite lines. I think cautiously optimistic. I think I'll go with.
I think that's a pretty good way of looking at it. I'm not sure I'm even cautiously optimistic, to be honest with you. But we shall see. We shall see. In Ohio, Governor DeWine, who was in Wheeling yesterday, said that he's taking a different approach. No, he does not want you. If somebody insists on coming into a business, you say, "Excuse me, sir, you're not supposed to come into our business without a mask on. The governor has set up an order." And somebody says, "Bleep the governor, I'm coming in anyways." DeWine says, "Don't make a big deal about it. Just let them move on." But he does say, Governor DeWine says he has retail agents inspecting to ensure compliance with the order. Now, in Ohio, he's got what he calls a retail compliance unit. He said that officially began work yesterday, and agents are inspecting to ensure compliance with the mask order. If they see 20% compliance with the order, that's a problem. But if most people are wearing it, that's what we want to see. So DeWine's taking a little lighter touch to it there. I think he's very serious about it, but he's taking a bit of a lighter touch. One of the big questions, of course, is when will this all be over? As I said, when this is over, ... We say that an awful lot. When this is over, we'll look at the governor's executive orders. When this is over, we'll see, did we shut down our businesses too fast, too soon, or let them reopen too fast, too soon? When this is over. When's it going to be over? I think there's one thing we can be sure of, two things, actually. It's not going to be over right away. We're still watching the COVID cases go up significantly every day, certainly here in the Panhandle and around the state of West Virginia and around the country. And we're seeing hospitalizations go up, and we're seeing deaths, unfortunately, go up as well. But there is light somewhere at the end of the tunnel, and the real light comes from vaccines. And we had a vaccine announced earlier this week. Was it Pfizer, I think, that said 90% effective rate? That was a tremendously positive vaccine. The Moderna pharmaceutical company is talking about the effectiveness of their vaccine. As the cases rise, that vaccine is even a little bit more effective, apparently, than the Pfizer vaccine. So ABC's Alex Perez has a little bit more on how the coronavirus is spreading right now and on the effectiveness of that vaccine.
Breaking news on the coronavirus vaccine, a sign of hope. Moderna announcing its vaccine could be up to 94.5% effective. The company planning to ask for FDA authorization in the coming weeks. The announcement coming after cases across the U.S. topped 11 million. That's 1 million additional cases in just a week. North Dakota's governor implementing a mask mandate, and Michigan's governor suspending indoor dining and ending in-person learning at high schools and colleges.
We are in the worst moment of this pandemic to date. The situation has never been more dire.
Hospitals reaching a breaking point too. In South Dakota, this nurse's tweet going viral after claiming that some of her patients dying in her hospital still don't believe the virus is real. Her concern echoed by 36-year-old Kelly Meeker from Minnesota, who has been hospitalized for a month and a half and was just recently taken off a ventilator.
I've heard a lot of stories of people telling me that they've had COVID, but it wasn't very bad. It was just a mild cold. But I'm just here to say that it can be much more serious.
Texas resident Bonnie Nahara, part of a club nobody wants to join.
First, my mother passed away. Then my dad. Then my cousin Martha. My Aunt Rachel. My Aunt Lupe. And my Uncle Louis.
Coronavirus killed 6 of her family members this year.
We're going to have empty chairs that will never, ever be filled again.
Wow. 6 of her family members.
That's tough.
It is tough. It's tough. You know, there's so many, the personal tragedy from some of this stuff, just the plain loss of life, period, the loss of life when you lose multiple people in a situation like that, the fact that we still have people who are shuffling off this mortal coil and can't talk and see their loved ones because of the COVID prohibitions. You know, they're dying alone. It's a terrible thing.
I know we're going to have one this year, and I thought one was going to be tough. I couldn't imagine 6.
No, I know.
My goodness.
I know. And I think that woman, she made a good point. She said, you know, these are 6 people who will never be at Thanksgiving dinner again. You know, oh, well, I'm not, by golly, we're going to do like we always did. I don't care because I want our family to come together. Yeah, okay. Maybe you should skip it 1 year. Because then you can do it again next year. And God, I pray that nobody has any problems. But, you know, you do. You don't want to be in that kind of situation. 6 family members. If you know, and of course it's touched you personally, but you know, it's amazing in the beginning of this whole COVID situation way back in March, we just looked at numbers. We didn't know who these people were. Most of the time, nobody knew anybody. We just know there were X number of people. And slowly but surely to the point now that I would venture to say the vast majority of our audience has somebody who has contracted COVID or even worse, died from COVID. I mean, it's now, I won't, but I could name names now of people that I know. And it's become so routine, just so routine. It's sad to say it's so routine. I was talking to a friend of mine yesterday who is on home quarantine. I said, what are you doing home? Well, I was out working and I thought I was safe, and it turned out that there was somebody there that might have been exposed, and then they got a positive test, and I'm back. But back in March, that would have been like oh my God, I can't believe it. For her, it was like, so another week at home. It's become so routine. We'll just go back and look at this year and wonder. I start to wonder how we got through it. Of course, the sad thing is some will not get through it. Let us head over to the Big 7, WTRF TV, where Bob Westfall is working on what they're going to be working on today for the news of the Valley. Good morning, Bob.
Good morning, Howard. How are you this morning?
I am good, although I'm depressing myself.
Well, as long as you're only depressing yourself.
Well, that's true. I guess so, yes. What are you working on today?
I mean, I assume there's other people listening, but, you know.
Well, Biff, am I depressing you?
A little, but I hope there's other people listening. Jeez, we'd be in trouble if there wasn't.
Who are these people texting us this morning? It's the ghosts of I don't know what. What are you working on today, Bob?
All right. Anyway, we're at check on the power outage numbers. There are still a little over 1,000 people in Marshall County without power. I think Ohio County is down to just under 300. I think the peak when the windstorm blew through, I think Joel Moray at Appalachian Power told me it was 6,700 people without power in the area. So at least we're down to a little bit under 1,200. So we'll have that. We'll keep those numbers updated. Also, we're going to do what do you do in a power outage. We'll have a little bit on that. I think Catherine's going to work on that. Story we saw yesterday, and we're hearing everywhere, a lot of smaller hospitals, smaller area hospitals, like our area, across the country are starting to see issues with patients' beds, COVID, staffing, and stuff like that. We're going to follow up with WV Reynolds and Barnesville Hospital. What they're telling me is they are adding beds. Staffing has not been an issue yet, but they are aware of what's happening in other parts of the country, and they are making plans for what could be. I guess Dr. Fauci is calling this now the third wave. So we will have a story on that today. So that'll be interesting. Taking a look at Brooke County Commission. They've been working on getting stuff together for courthouse renovations. We understand that they possibly are looking at another $100,000 grant to work on the courthouse, get that renovated, get that up to specs and things like that. So we'll have a little bit on that as well. Okay, and apparently we're going to have something from the Chief of Police here in Wheeling on the indoor mask mandate, a little bit explaining what businesses need to do and when say a customer comes into without a mask and what that business needs to do. So we're going to have an update on that as well today. So those are some of the things we're working on today.
Yeah, those are pretty big deals. The chief, I just looked at the chief's statement. They're going to be between a rock and a hard place. I don't think the chief wants to be the mask man, but on the other hand, there has to be some enforcement of some kind. So he's trying to make sure everybody understands when the issue becomes a police issue. It isn't just if you're walking down the street and you see somebody on a mask, call the cops. There's a protocol of this, which you will talk perhaps more about on the news coming up today.
We will have more on that. Of course, a little bit of sleet and flurries this morning on my way into work, so we'll be watching the weather. Scott Nolte will have the latest in sports, so a little bit of everything today.
All right, sounds good. Noon, 5, 6, 10, and 11, 5:30, the statewide show. We had Mark Curtis on here earlier this morning talking about some statewide issues. And, of course, always at WTRF.com and on your Facebook page. Appreciate it, Bob. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Thanks a lot.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
All right. Yep, lots happening. And I'll still see if I can get the chief on tomorrow for a couple of quick minutes, not a whole segment, maybe a couple of quick minutes to talk more about this mask mandate. Dale Lee from the WVEA perhaps dropping by to talk about the teachers' desire to have the schools continuing on remote, I should say, until the end of the year. So we'll see. I tell you what I do know. It's time for me to say sayonara, see you, bye-bye, farewell. I got to go. I got to get out of here. Hoppy is off one more day. So Dave Wilson filling in again, coming up in the next hour on Statewide Talk Line. As for me, good Lord willing, creeks don't rise, backbone doesn't ring. I don't get impeached, I don't retire. Ticker keeps on ticking, I don't overeat, and most importantly, Teddy says it's all right. You can go back to work tomorrow, Granddad. I shall return tomorrow morning, 7 o'clock, when they go over to the big gig. Are you back with me, Biff?
I'm here for a Wednesday.
We're going to keep on doing it till we get it right.
That could be a long time.
Indeed.
The Watchdog is FM 98.1, AM 1600 WKKX Wheeling, FM 97.7, AM 1370 WVLY Moundsville.
The ABC News is brought to you by Thomas Auto Centers, Mall Road, St. Clairsville. Get the best deal at Thomas Auto Centers.
Almost 13,000 new.
All right, Biffy, made it through. Not too bad again today. Yeah, I like seeing at least a few more of these texts. So that's texts, not Texas. but text. So that's good. I wonder where Hoppy's been. Dave sent a note out saying he had one more day and then Hoppy's back tomorrow, but I don't know what's been going on there. Okay. I think it's a short day tomorrow, but I got a few things I've got in my mind, so we'll see what we can make happen. You can save those stories I mentioned from long form just in case we need them tomorrow. And otherwise, if you need me, give me a call. I'll be around. Thanks for your help, as always. I appreciate it very much. All right, bye.
Hurricane Iota slammed into Nicaragua late last night. Here's ABC's Ginger Z.
It is now sitting over Central America, and here's the problem. It will slowly make its way west, and as it does that, the same areas that had deadly landslides from Guatemala to Honduras to Belize and Nicaragua are all on alert for up to 30 inches of rain. They are already so saturated from the last couple of days. Hurricane Ada was also a Cat 4, just 15 miles away from where Iota made landfall last night.
Dow is down 378 points. You're listening to ABC News.
Whatever you send through the U.S. Postal Service